Hey, it's New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. And as I say each week, Fresno is the heart of the Central Valley, and the Central Valley is the heart of the state of California, and it doesn't get much more heart than that. And today is an absolutely great day, and I hope you are also experiencing today as a great day, and I hope this morning, before you even opened your eyes to begin this day, that you claim the goodness of the day for you, because as a demonstration, as an example of God expressing as you and through you, that is your birthright, if you will, to claim this day, to be all that it can be, to provide you with everything that you may need, want, and desire, including guidance and guardianship through all of your day. Welcome to the show. I hope you've enjoyed the series that we've been doing. This is, let's see, I think this is the seventh and probably the final lesson on the 4 introductory chapters to what is called the textbook, The Science of Mind. And as I've said, those 4 introductory chapters, the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it, were written by Dr. Holmes after he wrote the text of the book itself. It kind of is an introduction to someone that wasn't familiar with New Thought, Science of Mind and Spirit, but also as a great source of review. And I've enjoyed this year actually taking a little more time, going through a little more in depth, actually kind of reading through the chapters themselves and covering all the material. It is a powerful introduction to a powerful tool in spiritual practice, often referred to as a philosophy of faith and a way of life. And it is, as I said, it's a practice. It's something that we can do every day, and if we do, it becomes a way of life that is self-expressive in the most wonderful and abundant way in our life, realizing that in truth we have nothing to fear. In truth there is no limitation. In truth we are dynamic, exciting, and wonderful beings, because in truth we were created in the image and the likeness of the divine, created in the divine nature, created to express life in a constructive way, created to experience life and to live life in a livingness that is beyond just settling for, but a livingness that allows us to utilize all the gifts that God has given us. So that's kind of the short version, and I'm going to pick it up right here. Now, I went through this treatment last week. I'm going to read through it again today. I'm not going to go through it. You can refer back to it in on Facebook, on New Thought Talk with Rev Steve, or my Facebook page. You can go to the YouTube page and review it from last week. But I want to start with this today because, for a person that is not familiar with Science of Mind and Spirit, or even for someone that is, when Dr. Holmes wrote this particular treatment, it's an awesome reminder. It's an awesome meditation, and you could do far worse than reviewing this on a regular basis and incorporating parts of it within your own day-to-day life treatment, and in the spontaneity of your treatment, but also as kind of a guidance. So here we go. I am a sinner in the divine mind, a point of God-conscious life, truth, and action. My affairs are divinely guided and guarded into right action, into correct results. Everything I do, say, or think is stimulated by the truth. There is a power in this world, in this word that I speak, because it is the truth. It is of the truth, and it is the truth. There is perfect and continuous right action in my life and my affairs. All belief in wrong action is dispelled and made negative. Right action alone has power, and right action is power, and power is God, the living Spirit Almighty. This Spirit animates everything that I do, say, or think. Ideas come to me daily, and these ideas are divine ideas. They direct me and sustain me without effort. I am continuously directed. I am compelled to do the right thing at the right time, to say the right word at the right time, to follow the right course at all times. All suggestion of age, poverty, limitation, or unhappiness is uprooted from my mind and cannot gain entrance in my thought. I am happy, wealth, and filled with perfect life. I live in the Spirit of truth, and I am conscious that the Spirit of truth lives in me. My word is the law unto its own manifestation, and will bring to me or cause me to be brought to its fulfillment. There is no unbelief, no doubt, no uncertainty. I know, and I know that I know. Let every thought of doubt vanish from my mind, that I may know the truth, and the truth may make me free. I mean, how awesome is that? It's incredibly incredible. So, anyway, we went through that last week, and like I say, you can find that discussion elsewhere on or in Facebook or on YouTube. But I want to pick up for this week. We're going to finish out the last part of chapter 4, how to use it. And you know, I've mentioned this. The idea, again, we've got to put it in context. We're talking about 1938, and in the United States at that time, there was a resurgence in spirituality and in particular in Christian thought and religion. And along comes Dr. Holmes, and he lays it out. He says, you know, God's not the guy in the gold chair somewhere up above, but God is an everywhere presence principle that is the first cause, the creative source of the universe. And that as such, all that creation is an expression of God, creating from God, so that all of creation is God expressed, which includes all of us. And that was quite a concept. And he said, you know, we don't have to use the word God, which was brilliant in the day because, you know, as we've discussed before, you know, we hold within our subjective mind certain beliefs, and oftentimes beliefs attached to certain words. And there was a very strong belief in this country of who and what God was. And so Holmes said, you know, we don't have to use the word God. We can, and he often did, but we can call it spirit, we can call it first cause, we can call it many different things. He said we can also call it the thing itself, because it was that thing in the beginning. And so, you know, he started there, and then, you know, he in the next chapter, he tells us that we are, you know, the thing itself, we are the way it works. We are the way that God works, Spirit works. And what it does is it creates. And so that took care of the first 3 chapters. And so then we come to how to use it. 1938, Dr. Holmes is talking about how to use first cause, how to use the thing itself, how to use, essentially, God in our life to create a better, more harmonious, more prosperous, more abundant life, but more importantly, to create more livingness in our life, because that is our purpose here. To be here and to express life, and to express life abundantly. And as we were all created in the image and the likeness and the nature, we all have access to it at the level we believe. So going through and laying out how and what prayer treatment is part of that, how to use it. We're going to finish up, like I said, we're going to finish up this chapter. He says, one who wishes scientifically to work out his problems or her problems. And scientifically means in a ordered way. Science was real popular back in the day with Einstein and relativity and all the different things that were going on. So people were, you know, they had a tendency to use science. But understand that when Dr. Holmes used the word science, he was talking about a process. And the process was if you put one thing with another thing and you got a third thing, and that if you did that and whoever repeated that same process had the exact same results, that was basically the scientific method. That's how theories came about, including the theory of spirituality, if you will. So he says, if one wishes to scientifically work out his problems, he must daily take time to meditate and to mentally treat the condition. And I talked a little bit about this last week with the understanding that when we talk about meditation, okay, meditation is one thing. Affirmative prayer treatment or prayer treatment is something else. It's kind of a meditative process, but it's much more active. And I highly encourage people that I talk to and that come to me to learn more to incorporate both of those things intentionally into their day-to-day life experience and make it part of their spiritual toolbox. You know, you can do a whole lot worse, but, you know, taking the time to meditate, calming the mind. You know, I am talking about kind of a mindfulness type meditation, clearing the mind out, reaching that center in yourself. and then maybe to follow that up or at a little bit different time to begin your prayer treatment, which is active, which we want to incorporate a bit of a meditative step in that when we recognize the divine principle, when we recognize truth, when we recognize the absolute, and that's not just in recognize it as in intellectually recognizing it, but recognizing it in an embodied totality within ourselves. And so in that sense, that it is kind of a meditative step. And then when we make our declaration and we go through the thanksgiving and releasing process, this is active. When we get to our declaration, again, we're not just speaking words. We're creating an image, if you will, within our subjective mind and our consciousness, an image that Holmes called it creating a mold. But we're creating that image with feeling and with as much reality in our inner beingness as if it already existed. And we are making that declaration as more of a recognition of that truth, of that reality, as already being whole, already being here. That knowing that with God all things are possible, knowing that there is no limitation with God. There's nothing that God can't do, address, provide for. And as late Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman used to say, no matter what it is you're dealing with, you got a bigger God. When you can embody that and make that part of your affirmative prayer treatment, that's a very powerful place to be. And again, the imagination is a lot of where this takes place. And if you happen to be someone that's been involved with New Thought for a while, and you may or may not have heard of Neville. If you haven't, I'm introducing you to the name now. I highly recommend looking up Neville's books because he had a way of teaching about utilizing the imagination that, although Dr. Holmes addresses it and he does, tell us that that's most important in many ways. Neville he fleshes it out. He adds more dimension to it. Just like I recommend reading Judge Trord in his books because it helps building the foundation. I also recommend reading Neville as you're going through and creating your own personal spiritual practices. So he says here, we take the time to meditate and treat the condition no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. In other words, we look at the world and we hold up your hand. You got 5 fingers. And it's kind of an interesting concept, but you also have 5 physical senses. And all those senses help us motivate through and work through our physical experience that we call life each day. Oftentimes they lie to us insofar as what we see may not be reality. And I've used the explanation in the past of, if you stand in the middle of railroad tracks and you look down and you see them come together at a distance, you know that they don't. You accept the fact that they don't. And yet, if you got very literal with what your eyes tell you, they come together. Well, we do a lot of this in many different parts of our life as we interact with the physical world. When we stop and we allow ourselves to realize that the physical world is nothing more than an expression of something far greater than the materiality that is the physical world, that makes up the physical world, that is an expression of divine principle, of God, of the thing itself, that we recognize, interact with, and experience it, not so much in our 5 senses, but with our spiritual sense. And, as Jesus was teaching this concept to the people around him, he says, God is spirit, and we must worship, work with, understand God as spirit. That's where we make our connection, not in a physical, materialistic sort of way. So when we look at conditions and they aren't in alignment with what we'd like to experience, when conditions present disease, lack, limitation, on all the different things that we call negative or possibly evil, we got to learn to look at those just as we look at those tracks coming together in the distance with our physical eyes. We see it there, but we know it's not true. And we do the same thing for physical material conditions that are tied to the materialistic reality. We're going to take our first break, and we'll pick this up when I come back.
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Christy Majors is your local real estate connection. With a solid, hardworking team, traditional listings, short sales, probate listings, and foreclosures are treated in a personal and caring way and close in a timely fashion. Since 2009, Team Majors has closed more than $75 million worth of homes all over California. Reliable and trustworthy, Christy and her team will go the extra mile for every client, whether selling or buying a home. So give Team Majors a call at 559-464-5606 or visit teammajors.com.
After a tough day at the track, cleaning up can be a time-consuming task. That's why we use Extreme Cleaner, the non-toxic, biodegradable, multi-purpose cleaner and degreaser. Extreme Cleaner cuts through even the toughest of grease and grime. Fast. Great for cleaning tools and work surfaces. Extreme Cleaner. Tough on grime, safe on the environment. Visit extremecleaner.com to find a retailer near you.
When you experience flooding in your home, you need to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-454-0655. After soaking in water for only 45 minutes, carpet starts to come apart. Clean Master Emergency Flood Service can help, and not just with carpet repair. They also offer carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning, carpet installation, and more. Call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, and they'll be there in 60 minutes. Call 559-454-0655.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. Okay, so moving forward. We're talking about our individual here and must take daily time to meditate and mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. They are working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through his or her faith in it. And we've talked about that in previous parts of this series. So we're working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through your faith, his or her faith. This law is the law which puts the act into all action. It is the invisible actor working through us to will and to do. As a result of right treatment, the mold formed in the subjective mind by the treatment makes possible a concrete manifestation. And so when we're talking about creating that image, if you will, in the imagination, in the subjective mind, that's the mold that Dr. Holmes is talking about. And it's people kind of get caught up in this because some people can really visualize. They close their eyes and they can see all sorts of things. And some people close their eyes and all they see is dark. And they think, well, in some way I'm limited by that. And the truth is, you're not. What we're seeking to do with this part of our treatment is to create our experience of the thing, whatever the thing is, whether it be health, whether it be abundance, it doesn't make any difference. What we're doing is creating a realization as if. So, okay, you can't see it. Well, close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, think about, first just think about what it is. And then as you think about what it is, allow yourself to think about how maybe it feels, not only tactily, but how it feels emotionally, if there's smell or touch involved, if there's a feeling of gratitude or excitement. These are all things that you can begin to go through in your imagination. And maybe you can't see the thing, but you can, how does it feel to have that relationship really be going strong? Or how does it feel to be able to get up and not be limited by whatever may have held you back in the past? How does it feel not to be afraid, but to experience confidence as you go forth in the day? How does it feel to be divinely guided? What does that mean? Because there's a meaning for each and every one of us there, and it's there and it's true. How does it feel if you had something that could lead you confidently through each and every day? How does it feel to know that no matter what comes at you, no matter how life comes at you, that there is something that is bigger than anything that life can bring on? Sometimes people get caught up in the idea that somehow New Thought, religious science, and science of mind and spirit is some kind of magical cure-all. Life comes at us at the speed of life. It'd be nice to say that we could control all that life brings, but life happens. How we experience that, though, depends on us, and how we build up our own spiritual bank account, if you will, how we build up our own spiritual muscle and tools and techniques and understanding will go a long way in seeing us through sometimes those things that, given our particular choice, maybe we wouldn't want to experience them, but that's what is. We can meet that what is. We can move forward. We can transcend it. And when we begin to know that, this is kind of a critical idea, because if you believe that life comes at you and you are a victim, then you will be a victim. If you believe that life comes at you with whatever it brings, but there is a guidance within you, a power and a presence for good that is never separate from you, that you will transcend as best you can in that moment. You declare yourself as a overcomer, if you will. You declare yourself as a creator. You won't be a victim. And yeah, we may experience some loss. And like I say, life happens, but we don't have to experience loss as a victim. We can experience loss as just a matter of fact of what is. And sometimes when we experience those kind of losses, they actually become learning lessons from which we can springboard into something greater and better and more abundant or prosperous or whatever. So, don't undermine yourself, I guess is what I'm saying, because the science of mind, New Thought, it takes place between our ears, but it takes place between our head and our heart, and it takes place within us as a spiritual being, in that inner, what we can call the God within, or the Christ consciousness. It's there, it's powerful. We fail to open ourselves up to it. We fail to just really utilize the good that is available to us. So, think about that. And we move forward here. It says, it is the invisible actor working through us that will and to will and to do. As a result of right treatment, the mold is formed, in the subjective mind by the treatment, and makes possible a concrete manifestation. In other words, a concrete demonstration in the here and now of your life experience. Now, I say here and now, and it may be instantaneous or close to it, or there may be a process that has to work through a period of time. But nonetheless, it demonstrates, and when you begin to really align yourself, when you begin to make this a part of your day-to-day spiritual experience, you begin to recognize that, and you know it. When you see it demonstrate, you go, wow, God is great, God is good. That thing that Dr. Holmes talks about, what a powerful, loving, productive, creative thing it is. And it is for me to access, for me to use, as it is for each and every person that breathes, walks the face of the earth. So, the treatment is an intelligent energy in the invisible world. It is a spiritual entity working through the law of mind, and it is an actual force now consciously directed. It's a force that we can use, you can use, as long as we align ourselves with principle, as long as we don't try to take from someone else, as long as we live a life in right consciousness, if you will. And we talked about that. I went ahead and went back. If you got a copy of The Science of Mind, it's on page 285 towards the bottom, where Holmes quotes the teaching out of the New Testament, talks about, if you go before the altar to give your gift and, you're not in alignment with divine principles, with divine love, you got to leave your gift, go back and get reconciled. Well, that describes any type of situation that separates us from truth, from reality, from the ultimate infinite love that is expressed in our life as God. If we hold ourselves apart, and I really drill down on this because it is so near and dear to my heart. And in today's world with so much chaos going on, and we got, people pointing fingers and making claims and getting angry and so on and so forth, we don't need that in the world. We can have differences. We can have all sorts of differences, but we can love each other. And through our love of each other, maybe on each side, there's an opening up in heart that may be available and we can move forward. But until we make the choices to do that, until we make the choices to turn away from hate and anger, prejudice, and so on, we lock ourselves in, not only individually, but we lock ourselves in the human race. And so we see more in the world of what we see. And it really does. It saddens my heart to see that because we have the ability to change it. And it doesn't make any difference what faith you happen to walk in. You don't even have to believe in a God. It's a power that's available to each and every one of us. So he says here, that the treatment is an intelligent energy in the invisible world. It is a spiritual entity working through the law of mind, and it is an actual force now consciously directed. Therefore, it must produce results. And people say, well, I treated and I don't see the results that I treated for. Well, maybe you treated, but it's done unto you at the level you believe in. And that's not at the level that you believe regarding that singular treatment, that you're going to get that parking space or whatever it is. But it's done unto you at the level of you believe in the totality of your beliefs. Do you believe that you are God expressing as you and through you? Do you believe that you are created in the image and the likeness of divine principle? Do you believe that there's a power that is available to you when you open yourself up to it? Do you believe that you are part and parcel, not apart from, but a oneness in the unity of all that is? And if you believe those things, then there's certain other beliefs that you have to give up. And that's kind of what I was just talking about. He says, this will not seem strange to those who have given thought to the subject, as the primordial word of the Creator is the only thing which explains creation. So every person's word, partaking of this original nature as it directs, must reproduce the creative function in this person's life at the level, and here we go, this is the Holmes talks about this stuff, but he doesn't really drill down, and maybe that's because they weren't dealing quite with what we're dealing now. I don't know. There was a lot going on at the world at that time. But he says, okay, he must reproduce the creative function in his life at the level of his or her consciousness of one life, back of, in, and through all. And there's no wiggle room. There's no caveat to that. God knows us as we know ourselves. Well, do we know ourselves to be complete? Do we know ourselves to be loving? Do we know ourselves to be, an expression of that totality of unity? Do we? And do you? I'm going to leave it at that question. We're going to take our next break, and I'll see you when we come back.
certifying foster homes for placement of children suffering from abuse, neglect, and abandonment. To help, contact Lisa Caceres with Angels of Grace at 559-268-0000.
Get your copy of Crouching Mama Hidden Veggies today, packed with recipes of delicious food cooked with hidden vegetables, so you can feel confident that you and your family are eating your veggies.
Contact Sprague Electric for all things electrical, solar installations, battery systems, troubleshooting, repairs, and more. Call 559-760-0712. SpragueElectric.com.
Are you or a member of your family beginning to show early signs of forgetfulness that may be Alzheimer's or dementia? The only way to be sure is through an expensive brain scan. Dr. Parminder Bhatia of the Neuropain Medical Center is helping in a clinical trial for those with memory problems, dementia, or mild Alzheimer's disease. Those accepted into the trial will have all costs paid for, from diagnosis to evaluations and trial medicine. There is no cost for those who are accepted in the trial, and there may even be some compensation for the patient's time and travel. For more information, call 559-437-9700, extension 310, and visit neuropain.com.
Hi, I'm the host of New Thought Talk, Reverend Steve Walling, and I want to take a moment today and give you an opportunity to support our ministry, support our show. You can do that through a PayPal payment. You send the payment through PayPal to the email address of Madera, MADERASAC @gmail.com. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can go down below the link and you can find where you can enter a debit or credit card. I want to thank those that have supported us and those that will continue to support us. You have a great day. Bye. Okay, welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. Moving on. Holmes tells us, he says, a treatment is a spiritual entity. It's a thing of itself. There is a level of reality beyond materiality. And when we are in our consciousness of treatment, it's in that space, if you will, that we create that idea, that concept, that power, that mold, and that's where treatment lives. And it's a spiritual reality. And it's a concept that when we get it, it's awesome. So moving forward, he says, it's a spiritual reality in a mental world and is equipped with power and volition, as much power and volition as there is faith in it, given to it by the mind of the one using it. And when we talk about volition, what we're talking about is the power of choice and direction, okay? And operating through law. Again, we've talked about the law, and it knows exactly how to work and what methods to use and just how to use them. And this is a we get caught up in this. You know, we all want to keep our fingers in the pie, so to speak, sometimes. But if you happen to have the opportunity to read Troward, and I was talking to someone about Troward today, and he referred to him as the infinite run-on sentence, and maybe that may be. He could be a little difficult sometimes to read, but there's a lot of stuff there. And if you have a little trouble reading it, take the time to understand. And I highly recommend reading most everything, if not everything, that Judge Troward wrote. It's all still in print. But one of the things in print that you can find, and it's published in either, I think it's called The Hidden Truth, or it is the collected lectures of Thomas Troward, or something like that. There is a chapter in both of those that is entitled The Law of Growth. And sometimes it gets a little confusing. We talk about the law of this and the law of that. Well, to put it in perspective, we talk about the law of electricity or the law of gravity or, various other laws of physics and so on. So, it's even though we use the law in various aspects, ultimately we're talking about the one main law, and that's the law of cause and effect. And that's the creative side, if you will, of the divine principle of God. But what Troward was talking about in this is what he calls the law of growth. And understanding the law of growth can help us move our own spiritual demonstration forward, because we don't go out and plant our garden and then go out every other day and pull the seeds up to see if they're growing. We don't go out and plant our gardens and try to stretch the seed, maybe get it to grow a little faster. We don't go out and plant our garden and try to tell the plant how it's supposed to grow and how the soil is supposed to do its job. We don't go out and plant weeds all around the little seeds that we've planted that we want to see germinate. And yet we do that kind of metaphorically speaking when we plant seeds in our subjective mind. We want to maybe figure out a way to do it, knowing that we can do it better than God. Well, that's not exactly true. We have a limited number of ways that we can figure out doing things. God has an infinite number of ways of demonstrating what it is we want done. And it's only when we just set ourselves back and allow God to be that we, get our fingers out of that pie. And it's very important that we understand that. When we, in that last part of our 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment, affirmative mind treatment, is when we talk about the release, we're talking about give it up to God and let it go. But don't give it up to God in worry, because, again, that's keeping our fingers in the pie. Don't give it up to God in, a level of lack of confidence or whatever. Give it up to God in an inner confident knowingness that the Creator of the universe, you were able to give to the Creator of the universe that which it is that you're seeing demonstrate in your life. And that's just a way to frame it, if you will, in our minds, okay? So he says, one gives a treatment for right action and does not believe that right action, when one gives a treatment for right action and does not believe that right action will be the result, he makes his own treatment negative. There you go. That's that doubt thing. That's messing around with the spiritual soil, if you will. Therefore, we should spend much time in convincing ourselves of the truth of our treatments. Where do we spend that time? We spend that time. That's part of what I was describing when we're at that declaration part of our treatment. In our imagination, closing your eyes if you need to. One of the things that often sometimes works for people is to sit down and write it out, whether it's a story, a description, or whatever, and get, as you write that story, make it the story as real to you as you need it to be, and then read it a couple times till you get it in mind. And then when you go into treatment, don't try to recreate that story like word for word, but allow yourself to experience that story as if it's a story of truth that already is a beingness, has existed. If you're having trouble with your imagination, this is one of the tools that you can use, because what you ultimately want to do is create that mold within your imagination. And your imagination lives not in your conscious mind, but it lives in your subconscious, your subjective mind. That's where our dreams come, our beliefs are held, and so many other things. So, we gotta know what we're dealing with, and we gotta use the tools we have to our best possible ability to use them. And using the imagination is powerful. So that's where this happens, right? He says, therefore, we should spend much time in convincing ourselves of the truth of our treatments. Now, this is not a power of will, but a power of choice. Okay, we're that creative power, if you will. We do not put power into the treatment. It's not about your willpower, your willing, your inner determination, because you got nothing to do with it other than to declare the truth and know that it is the truth. And he says, we do not put the power into the treatment, and we will take out of the treatment only as much as we believe is in it. It's not for us. It's for divine principle, for God. All we have to do is take out of the treatment as much as we can believe that it is. And that's that creativeness within our imagination. If we can take out from that imaginary construct, if you will, the wholeness and the reality of it being here now. It's done unto us at the level we believe. It's a concept sometimes it's difficult for some people to wrap their minds around, and yet it's been proved throughout history again and again and again. And it's available not to special people, but it's available to all of God's creation. And that includes you and me. So don't separate yourself out. He says if one doubts his ability to give an effective treatment, he should specifically treat himself or herself to remove the doubt. You know, if you're treating and you catch that little voice in the back of your mind and it's worry and doubt and stuff, stop. Boom. Begin to treat for the doubt, because the doubt only exists between your ears. The doubt doesn't exist in truth. The doubt does not supply us with anything other than worry and anxiety. And you know what? That doubt comes from a very specific part within our brain. It's called the fear mechanism. And the fear mechanism, although it served humanity well during the evolutionary process, doesn't serve us so well today. And oftentimes that's individuals' first go-to place in their mind and in their interaction with the world. You know, something happens and their mind lists all the different things that can go wrong because a certain event happened. When we can get over that fear, there is a certain aspect of fear that is still constructive in today's world. You know, you don't want to step out in front of a vehicle. You don't want to touch a hot skillet. You know, you want to protect that child when it begins to fall. All these different things serve a purpose. But when fear begins to hold us back, when fear begins to tell us that something is that isn't true, okay, we need to call that out, if you will. We need to recognize that fear is not a reality. Fear is not a substance. Fear is just it is an inner reflex, if you will, that's left over from our evolutionary days. And we can overcome it. We can retrain our mind, and we can relegate fear to the proper place that it should be in our life. But it takes work, and that's why practice, continuous practice through this whole spiritual process will help us to mitigate the power that fear has in our life and allow us to be in relationship to life in a more powerful and more constructive way. So, he says here, we should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy. Expectancy, the power of not just wishing, but knowing this. Okay, again, these are feelings, these are things that we can build up within ourselves. Okay, not by coercion, but with conviction, by knowing and knowing that we know, right? Not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. Imagine opening yourself up to a belief of receptivity, of receiving this, where no matter what happens, that you experience in your life that provides goodness, abundance, and wholeness and prosperity for you, it comes at the level of your expectancy. It's not like, wow, where did that come from? It's like, I expected that to happen because I am living in the image and likeness of the divine creator, and therefore all the love, all the creative stuff that is expressing in my life. And I believe it, and I'm receiving it, and I'm loving it, and I'm living it. And when we get to that point, you know, there's a side effect to that. And the side effect is as we lift ourselves up, we lift up people around us. We bring more good into the world, more good into our family, more good into our workplace, more good into our schools, more good into whatever it is that we're interacting with. And it's kind of an awesome thought, but it's also a very true thought. So we move forward. He says, we do not have to drive or push, but we have to accept and believe. We should then leave everything to the law. Let the law do what the law does, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. This, again, is that double-edged sword. That law is very exact and exacting. And if we want to think we believe in what we're treating for, and yet we're still that odd against our neighbor, you know, as we're going to the altar, that we think we can get away with, you know, just kind of setting that aside, it doesn't work. We got to bring it all. We got to bring it all, and we got to bring it all the time. And when we do, you know, the law always responds. But we're talking about what is the level of the response that we want to see in our life. Do we want to see the law respond that level of limitation, because limitation lives in separation as we separate ourselves out from God. And a lot of people don't think that they're separating themselves out when in fact they are. You can't hold something against your brother, your sister, or, the divine creation, if you will. Jesus said we love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And he didn't say with an exception of. There's no subtext to that. There's no asterisk in that we can look down in the footnotes that give us reason or an excuse to hold anybody else, any group out, anything out as something that we can judge, something that we can hate, something that we can be against. When we look at the idea of like being against something that we know that is wrong, instead of seeing it as something we're being against, we see that whatever is behind it is still a divine creation, and that we may need to establish boundaries to help, prevent that from being an influence in a negative way in our life. But we do it with love. We don't do it with anger. We don't do it with justification of getting something over on somebody or something. We open ourselves up with love and acceptance of all of God's good, knowing that as we do that which, whatever it may be that we're dealing with, ultimately has no truth and reality, and it will disappear, dissipate, or something will come along to move it out of our experience. It's an awesome thing. We're going to take our last break. I went a little bit long, so I'll see you when we come back.
In a world where Friday nights have become synonymous with going out to get wasted, consider not doing that, and instead save your money and tune in to the Hey Slingshot Show Friday nights at 7 p.m. Or go out anyway and pull out your phone and watch on Facebook or YouTube. You can even watch right now. It won't be live, but there is a significant backlog of shows that you can watch right now. Hey Slingshot, Friday nights at 7 on CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss G. I offer fun and affordable promotion and advertisement on my talk show. It is called Fresno Vibes. We talk, we play awesome music. I also feature a bunch of different bartenders from different places. I like to have restaurants. I like to have any event, any kind of fun stuff. Contact me at rmgmissg@gmail.com and we will have so much fun, and we will promote your business, promote your event right here on my show. So contact me. We'll have fun. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Chris DeVold. Tune in every Friday night on CentralValleyTalk.com when I bring you Sex, Drugs, Chris DeVold, where I'll give you 3 guesses on what we talk about. And I also vow to bring you 1 live local music act a week. So tune in every week, because you never know what kind of music you're going to hear right here on CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. So as we went into the last break, we were talking about, in the process of treating and where we're at in our own inner beliefs and understandings. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to try and wrap this up. And a lot of what we've got in this closing segment, we've covered some of the other lessons in this series, so you can go back to beginning in January. But anyway, going forward, Holmes says we should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy, okay? Not by coercion, but with conviction, not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. We got to know that it's there. We do not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe. We should then leave everything to the law, expecting a full and concrete proof of our faith. We shall not be disappointed nor chagrined, for the law is our faithful servant. At the level that we believe, at the level that we align ourselves with divine principle, and it's an amazing thing when you begin to see it unfold in your own life. moving forward here real quick, he says one should treat any given condition or proposition until he or she proves their principle, no matter how long it takes. And that brings up a question that is important that we understand right here. You know, there's been a thought throughout the New Thought community for many years. Well, you know, how long, how much do we treat? And you treat as much as you may believe that it takes for you. I mean, if you can totally wrap your mind in one treatment and reach that demonstration within your mind of the truth as it already is, you know, then more power to you. But if you're like a lot of new people to New Thought and religious science of mind and spirit, that, you know, you're kind of working through it, you treat until you see the demonstration. And as you're going through your treatment, if you, again, as we talked earlier, if you realize that you have some doubt or some other issues, you treat for those along the way. Holmes says, just in other parts of his writings, that it's best to treat twice a day, in the morning and the evening, and we treat until we see a demonstration, you know, and you don't give up the faith. And if you feel that your faith is waning a little bit, then you pause and you treat for that. But I want to encourage you to hang in there, because what's there awaiting you within the inner beingness of your own spiritual reality is a power and a presence for good that is available to you and has brought into this life that you're experiencing a potential of living a degree of livingness beyond probably your wildest imaginations. It's there for you. And as we live a higher and greater livingness, if you will, we're actually in a way giving back our gift to the divine principle, to God, all that we can give. You know, we're not less than, not ever. So if you're experiencing a little bit of that, then maybe you want to treat about that, okay? He says, I'm going to just kind of wrap this up here real quick. He says a practitioner, and when we're talking about practitioners, there are individuals that they're educated as a practitioner, and that's one thing. But when I talk about practitioner, and when Holmes is talking about practitioner, particularly in this part of the book, we're talking about individuals that are putting into practice the tools that New Thought, Science of Mind and Spirit teaches. A practitioner consciously removes the apparent obstruction and leaves the field open to a new influx of spirit. He or she resolves things into thoughts, dissolves the negative appearance in the condition by recognizing only perfection. The practitioner must know and must state that there are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. You know, as we're doing our treatment, and we make that declaration, there's no obstacles. There's nothing so big that the divine, that God can't overcome it. You got a bigger God than anything that life can bring at you. Life comes at us at the speed of life. We know that. We've talked about it. But how we respond to that will be determined by where we're at in our own spiritual truth and reality and beingness. Lessons can be learned. Things can be moved on, and we can transcend. And you know, sometimes, and people don't realize this, but sometimes when things happen that leave us in a less than perfect condition, you know, maybe various physical limitations have shown up. Maybe we've lost a lot of stuff in our life, for example. If we quit there, then we've defeated our purpose in this life, because no matter where we're at in life, we have the tools to transcend. We may have been redirected to a different experience of reality because maybe there's something within us that is going to learn and grow, or maybe it's just what is. But what is truth is, no matter where you're at, after whatever condition or effect comes your way, it can be transcended. It can be moved beyond, and we can step into the light of God expressing as us as a positive and productive experience in our life. You know, and when we do that, sometimes in that overcoming of certain things in our life, not only do we lift ourselves up, not only do we lift others up, but we bring a light and more confidence and teaching into the world that others can see. When someone manages to utilize the divine principle and to create a more productive, more abundant, more love-filled, peace-filled, beauty-filled, happy-filled life, and coming out of maybe what they may have considered to be extremely limited circumstances, as an individual does that, people that are there, they can see that. And when people that do bring themselves up and they do it in love, and they can share what they've learned, they can share their light with those that were around them when they were first starting. It's how we change the world. You know, it's how we create things, how we teach people that they're not victims. No one was created as a victim, but many of us claim victimhood, you know, for various reasons. And yet, within each and every one of us is the potentiality to move so far beyond where we're at in life through our expression in this life, through our experience with the divine principle, through our claiming our life right to be all that God has created us to be. And so, again, like I said, it's available to each and every one of us. But we gotta do some changing in our beliefs. We gotta stop accepting certain things for ourselves and demanding and expecting greater good. Excuse me. So I'm going to move forward because we want to close this up. He says, if an obstruction is a result of a hangover of belief from past years, the practitioner must know that no past mistake can hinder or obstruct the flow of divine intelligence through God's idea. And I've talked about this in the past. I'm going to touch on it real quick. You know, we all have our story. You know, we all have our experiences in life that may have been tragic, if you will. But if we use our story to define our life experience, then we limit ourselves by that definition. Yes, there are bad things that happen to people that are tough, emotionally tough, physically to get over. But you know what? When we recognize that that's something that happened in the past, we don't have to be a part of it. We don't have to let it limit us. We can put that on our library shelf in our mind, if you will, and we can declare our good and our greatness right now. It's a concept that some people today have trouble with because they want to be defined by the limitations in their life. They want to be defined by victimhood. But we don't have to. We can embody, embrace so much more and live at a much higher, more positive, abundant, love-filled way. But the choice is ours. We have to come to that recognition. I'm encouraging you today to maybe give that some thought. He says the patient should try to be receptive, okay, if we're treating for someone else, but oftentimes we're the patient, not to let the will of the practitioner or ourselves, but be receptive, not to the will, but to the purpose of the universe. That is, we should expect results and should be willing to give up anything and everything that would hinder the demonstration. And that's when we get back to this idea of beliefs. You know, there are people that will give up anything before they're willing to give up their beliefs. And a man convinced against his will, or a woman, remains unconvinced still. Our beliefs are powerful. Oftentimes we don't know that we have them, and we can't change them until we recognize that we've got something going on that's holding us back. It's not about what's going on in the outside world. It's not what other people are doing, even if they're doing stuff to us. And we've covered some of that. We'll go through it later on. He says the mental attitude of the practitioner is one of denial towards every false condition that opposes the principle of life as one absolute perfection. God's world is perfect, and this is the principle we wish to demonstrate. We have to demonstrate. Spiritual things must be spiritually discerned, and when we are ready and willing spiritually to discern them, we shall find a ready and response from the invisible to the visible. Think about that. It's awesome. Let us do our work continuously, conscientiously, and thoroughly, and leave the rest to that law, which is perfect. There's one power and presence in the universe. There's one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is our life now. A new light is coming into the world. Okay, I'm going to close with this. I'm running a little bit over, but this is important. I want you to think about this. Think about putting this or expressing it in your own individual life experience. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderline of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. It is useless as well as foolish to make any attempts to cover this principle or to hold it as a vested right of any religion, sect, or order. The truth will out. The Spirit will make itself known Happy are we if we see these things which from the foundation of the human race have been longed for by all aspiring souls. True thought deals directly with first cause, and this science is a study of first cause, spirit or truth, that invisible essence, the ultimate stuff, and the intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. Have a great week, my friends, and I'll see you when we come back.